I had tomato soup does not come off.
No.
It hardens into this like.
It is permanent. It is a glue, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I use it.
I think in most cultures, they glue houses together with it. Hi, Tiffany.
Hi, Kat.
How are you doing this evening?
I'm doing pretty well, aside from dealing with a daughter who pooped after I put her down to sleep. But
better out than in, I always say.
You always say that about.
Well, yeah.
That's true, though. That is true.
Yeah.
How are you?
Oh, good. Just summertime has started here. It's May 1st, so time for the heat wave.
Oh,
It's
no.
actually been really nice.
Okay, I was like, is it actually hot?
It's supposed to get to the 90s this week, but it's been raining on the weekends, which is nice for us. It was so dry last year that hopefully none of our tomatoes die this year. But
yeah, I had that problem last year too. All of my raspberries, I was just too lazy to water them. And the year before I didn't need to, so I just didn't. And then we got 4 raspberries the whole season. It was sad.
Yeah. My grandfather used to say in Texas, well, if it doesn't rain, I don't have a garden. So, yeah, he wouldn't water things, but he had pretty good crops in his backyard.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like that's probably the smart way to go about it, water conservation wise.
Yeah. Still, it's nice to have.
Yeah. It's nice.
Like when you plant things, it's hard to watch them die.
Totally. Yes. I actually just planted a whole pollinator garden in my front yard, and I'm really excited. Actually, my friend Julia came and helped me, and I was like, thank God, because this is a lot of work. Gardening is hard.
It is, especially you're learning, like where plants go, where they should interact with each other, which one's like the same kind of soil. Yeah,
exactly. And I'm really just guessing and using resources. My state, actually, Maryland, has really good charts and stuff, but
that's good.
I'm guessing, but I'm like trying to go native, trying to go pollinator friendly. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I'm trying to, I try to do pollinator friendly and anti-mosquito.
Oh.
It's like, how do you mix those?
I did not know that was even a thing. That's
geraniums and...
I just planted some of those.
Yeah, that's good. There's a few others that...
Whoa.
Mosquitoes don't like, so...
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I planted some from seeds just because I had the seeds. I was like,
cool.
Might as well try it. And there's like 7 growing. So that's
that's nice.
Good. Yeah.
Geraniums apparently really like acidic soil, I've heard.
Oh. This is not. I just put them in a pot, so...
Well.
Oh, well.
Oh, well. That's what I mean. You could bring them in when it's cold, too, then, though.
Oh, yeah. Do they last?
I have never had a geranium last.
Okay. I was going to say, I think they're annual, right?
Yeah.
Which means they die. I can't remember. Yeah, they die every year if they're annual.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. So I can update folks on my pollinator garden, but...
Yeah, we want pictures when it starts blooming.
Yeah, they're far from that moment.
Sometime this summer.
Yeah.
Next season.
Yeah, totally. All right. So you want to get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so
we should say, well, welcome to Greening Up My
Wait, who are we? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Tell me.
We are rating basically green living products this season for house cleaning based on their effectiveness, their cost effectiveness, and their actual sustainability qualities on a scale of 1 to 5 granolas, 5 being the crunchiest, therefore the best, and 1 being the soggiest, therefore the worst.
Yeah, nobody wants soggy granola. Grody.
No. Or DIY green cleaning products that are actually worse for you or don't work or worse for the environment.
Yeah, because a lot of this green marketing stuff is like, oh, we're eco-friendly, but actually it's just a word that we call green hooey because it means absolutely nothing and nobody's really regulating it. So companies can kind of get away with saying a lot of stuff that doesn't actually mean anything. So
yeah. So what's tonight's episode about?
Well, I was going to say, speaking of DIY that doesn't actually work.
Way to not bury the lead.
No, I'm not. I'm being very upfront with this. DIY dishwasher detergent. So I had a wild ride with this one because, and I really wanted it to work. And full disclosure, we're re-recording this episode because last week, I think I was getting sick or something, but I think I was also so frustrated that it wasn't working that I didn't know how to process everything that I was learning and all the research I was finding. and my results. And I was just like, what the hell?
Yeah, for sure.
So annoyed. So I was like, Kat, can we please re-record? I can do it so much better.
Yeah.
And
I'm
luckily,
happy to.
Kat was okay. And I think actually a lot of this is going to be new because I did really rework these notes. So it's not like you're just going to have to sit here and listen to me say the same shit over and over.
So it's episode 11.2.0.
Exactly. 11.1. Yes. So it was funny because like I feel like most people think DIY dishwasher detergent is something that they can't do. Like there's going to be dishwasher police who show up or like
right, the Maytag man. Yeah.
You cannot
just appears like you shall not pass.
Straight to jail with you. But you know, I was like, I'm having so much trouble with my dishwasher.
Let us know. How do you feel about your dishwasher?
Well, basically my dishes were extremely cloudy, so they looked dirty. It was like I might as well not have even washed them. I had to basically take vinegar water, rinse, and wash them out again every time. I'm like, this is not, to be clear, I did not ever do that unless we had guests or something. Yeah. But if I really wanted them to not look like garbage, then that's what I would have to do.
Oof.
And everything tasted, not everything, but a lot of the plastic stuff tasted like soap. So like my daughter's, she would have dry, nothing wet, just dry goldfish in her little plastic cup thingy. And it would taste like soap within a couple of hours. I was like, this is disgusting. I feel bad for her. She's going to grow up thinking like, oh, all food tastes like soap.
The most delicious cracker on the planet tastes like soap. That's terrible.
Yeah, exactly. So I really wanted this to work. I even tried 2 different recipes thinking like, surely for the love of God, something is going to work. I made a chart, and this was new. I made a chart trying to track all of the complicated variations that I was trying in my dishwasher and all the ingredients I was using and all of the results. And then finally, a couple days ago, I was like, screw it. Like I can't, this is not something that anybody else in the world is ever going to do. So why am I doing this? So
for science.
Well, yeah, but I gave up on my test because I was so annoyed. Yeah. So cut to the chase. You probably don't want to waste your time like I did making your own dishwasher detergent. And I'll get into why next. But I did want to say that I found one insanely easy thing that you can do without buying anything starting today. You might already do this. I didn't. That will probably be a lot more impactful. And this is whether you wash your dishes by hand or in the dishwasher. And it's going to be more impactful than making your own dishwasher detergent. So I'll share that with you toward the end.
Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. First, I need to share my sources real quick.
Okay.
So I use the New York Times, a little bit about phosphates. We'll talk a little bit about phosphates, and Agricultural Policy Review from Iowa State University also talks about phosphates. I use compoundchem.com just for what the heck is the chemistry behind dishwasher detergent. It's amazing that these things exist.
Yeah.
The Center for Biological Diversity talks about phosphate mining. I used Aspen Clean. It's a brand. I used their website. I also looked up the ingredients for Finnish Quantum Powerball, which, spoiler alert, that's the dishwashing detergent that I use. I use Environmental Working Group, which we talk about all the time, and they rate products from A to F based on their toxicity. AttainableHome.com talks about dishwasher pods, which is going to be interesting. This is one of the most interesting parts is the dishwasher pods. I used National Library of Medicine. I used, what was it? Oh, University of Zurich. They talked about the ingredients in most dishwasher detergents, like the pre-made ones. Clean and Green, 101 Tips for a More Eco-Friendly Home is by the book by our girl, Nancy Birtwistle, who we love. She's
heart emoji.
She had one of the DIY recipes. The book is really good. Unfortunately, this recipe did not work out for me, but that's okay. Can't be perfect. The Spruce had the other DIY recipe. And a couple final things. I looked at the University of Michigan had an article about fighting climate change at the sink.
Wow.
Yeah, I found that kind of great.
Incidentally, our other podcast name was going to be that. But.
Oh, man, that was a good one. I used Tree Hugger. They talked about dishwashing versus dishwashing versus hand washing. And then the New York Times also had this really good article about how to make your dishwasher work better. And I was like, please God, tell me, because I'm so done with this. All right, so those are my sources. That's what I used. So let's get into dishwasher detergent and why you should just save yourself the time and the headache of making your own unless you're a glutton for punishment.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The basic reason is no matter how well a DIY recipe works for one person, it probably won't work for the next person. The New York Times Wirecutter article that I mentioned that was so helpful proved my point, because Wirecutter is a website that rates tons of products based on how well they work. And they said Wirecutter is, at least for now, officially agnostic on the best dishwasher detergents and rinse aids.
Oh, wow.
I know, isn't that interesting? They say, I've found the products that seem to work the best with my water supply and my dishwasher, but I'm positive that they will not be the best choice for everyone or even most people.
Darn it.
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like, I know, shampoo, right? I know the shampoo I use, like when a friend comes and uses my shampoo, I'm like, this is not going to work on your hair. You're not going to enjoy this.
Yes, it's like different stuff, different oils, different whatever. But in your water, it's like nobody's water is exactly the same.
And nobody's dishwasher.
Yes.
You could have the same brand and it works totally differently just randomly.
Yeah, and it depends on whether you clean it or not, which apparently you don't really have to.
Oh, I clean my filter at least once a month. But
yeah, I don't know where mine is. I have an old dishwasher, which doesn't necessarily mean it's... I don't think the dishwasher is a problem, but...
So it hasn't convinced you? This whole project has not convinced you to buy a new dishwasher yet?
No, especially because I had a maintenance guy come out and it was just the seal that was broken. And he was like, no, you need to keep this dishwasher for as long as you can, because no, it's not the most water friendly or water saving. But he's like, the new ones are junk. And my brother-in-law bought one. I think it was his dishwasher. I know he had trouble with his refrigerator, and I'm pretty sure his dishwasher broke. A brand new one broke within like a couple months. And he said it's just been a nightmare. I'm like, all right, I'm going to keep this like old lady chugging along for as long as I can.
I mean, yeah, better that than in the landfill. You know, it's still doing its job.
I know. Maybe that's kind of what I'm thinking. Yeah. And well, one other interesting thing is that I found here, it's here somewhere, but it's basically like if your dishwasher was made after 1994, then it's probably going to use between like 7 and 10 gallons per load, which sounds kind of like a lot. And I'm sure the new super eco-friendly ones use less than that. I think I've heard that some use like 3 gallons, which is great.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't think mine was made after 1990 or before 1994. I don't think it's...
Oh, I was like, after 94 is when... Okay, before 94. Okay.
I don't think it's more than 30 years old. So I think it's probably on par with a lot of the ones on the market.
I'm sorry, I just had a heart attack that 1994 is 30 years ago.
You know, right?
It's like 10, 15 years. Oh, no.
I know. I actually had to do the math. I was like, there's no way. Yep, that's correct. Yep. All right. So I did, and I'm going to just share the highlights of this because
it goes deep.
It goes deep. I looked into what is dishwasher detergent, and I just feel like it's not really necessary because I'm not advising anybody to make their own.
Right.
But I do find it kind of interesting, especially if you're on the market and you're shopping around. The Wirecutter recommends experimenting. So experiment away, which I'm going to have to do now. But
I wish they sold samples. Do they sell samples of detergents?
I don't know.
Because then you could be like, oh, this is the one for me. But I don't know.
They should. The hard thing is that it usually takes like a week for you to figure out if it's actually working or not.
You got to use.
But yeah, if you have a week's worth of a sample, yeah, that would be nice actually. But they probably companies don't want that. They just want you to buy all of it.
Yeah.
So real quick, compoundchem.com says dishwasher detergents are made usually from salts that prevent limescale buildup.
Okay.
They're made from builders like phosphates, citrates, polycarboxylates that soften water. Phosphates are kind of out. I'll explain why in a bit. They use surfactants, which are soap, and they remove grease in food. They use alkalis that fight grease, enzymes, which apparently are extremely important. They break down starch and protein. They use either like a bleach or peroxide releasing compound that takes away color, which I'm kind of like confused why they would need to take away color, but whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then some dishwasher detergents contain a rinse aid, but a lot of times you have to use a rinse aid separately, or they tell you do. I don't really know if I believe it, but I didn't look into rinse aid. So a quick note about phosphates. That was the first thing I ran into in my research was, phosphates were banned in, I don't know, New York Times says 2010, but they said like 17 states banned phosphates from dishwasher detergent, and everybody in the eco world is like, no, phosphates are terrible. Basically, phosphates can cause algae, like too many phosphates in a waterway can cause an algae bloom, which reduces the oxygen and potentially kills off the fishies and other organisms living there.
Oh, I hate a toxic algae bloom. They're the worst.
Yeah, so it's not good, but...
We have, just for the record, we have this algae that blooms in the lake here in Austin, and it kills dogs.
Oh, yeah. So, I don't know. I'm curious, actually, because we have the same thing, and there were signs that were like, do not let your dog swim in this water. I don't know if it's the same thing.
If it's caused by phosphates or... Yeah. Just heat in general.
It's hard to say. I know I heard that climate change is making them way worse or way more frequent, but that would be kind of interesting to look into.
Yeah.
But yeah, algae blooms are not good. So, but the interesting thing, and this is just one study and one opinion, but the Agricultural Policy Review says that because phosphorus limits have already been introduced at wastewater treatment facilities in the worst affected areas, that phosphate bans aren't actually that effective because the wastewater treatment facilities they're not lowering how much they let out into the water.
Okay.
Yeah, because their limits are the same. So they didn't really change. This is what this study said. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting because everybody thinks like, oh, get rid of this thing. Don't have it in the product.
Right.
Yeah. It's basically like phosphate bans just made it really like a lot cheaper for them to operate, but it didn't necessarily mean that there's less phosphates being released into the water.
Right.
But on the flip side, I was like, but I guess phosphate mining is probably really bad. Yes, I looked it up. Center for Biological Diversity says that strip mining for phosphate rock violently transforms the environment and irreparably changing the character of the natural landscape. So I actually think you can still buy detergents with phosphates in them. So it's sort of like a mixed bag. They do apparently make the detergent work a lot better. Like the New York Times even said, better for the environment, worse for your dishes or something.
Okay.
So that's kind of hard. So we're kind of like, I don't think we're playing catch up anymore, but without phosphates, it's a little bit tricky to get super clean dishes.
Okay. That's the sacrifice you make. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So I don't know. I just found that whole thing kind of interesting. But the other ingredients that I found in Finish, the Finish Quantum, that product was rated a C from the Environmental Working Group, which isn't bad. But then when you get down into it, I counted on the Environmental Working Group's website, I counted 16 ingredients where there was at least some concern for things like acute and chronic aquatic toxicity, general systemic/organ effects, damage to DNA, which I'd never seen before, cancer, and more fun things like that.
All the fun.
All the fun things. So it's really hard because it's like, I don't know. I just, in my gut, don't trust this Finish. And I feel like I taste it on my dishes. Ugh. You know? So if I can taste soap, then I'm definitely ingesting it. My daughter's ingesting it. So I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like I need to find something else, even if the Environmental Working Group rates it a C, which isn't that bad.
Yeah, it's not stellar. Right.
I thought it was going to be way worse, actually, but...
Yeah, fair. That's always a surprise.
Yeah.
A fun surprise.
Right. But, for example, they do contain alcohol ethoxylates that can cause acute aquatic toxicity, which is verified by the National Library of Medicine, and potentially damage gut health, there was a study from the University of Zurich that said this ingredient, even the residue, might cause damage to your gut health. So I was like,
wow. Okay. So no, thank you.
Yeah. But it's also hard because it works so well. So I'm like, God damn it. What do I do? So I'm still not sure, but we'll get there. I needed to talk about the pods real quick because everybody thinks that these pods are environmentally friendly because that's how they are marketed. So the film that a pod comes in, Aspen Clean, for example, is one of the best rated brands by the Environmental Working Group. They market their dishwasher pods as eco-friendly dishwasher pods / natural / non-toxic.
Green hooey. Well, okay.
It is. It actually is. You're right. And so on its website, it calls the stuff that the dishwasher pod film is made from, which is polyvinyl alcohol polymer, it calls it water soluble and biodegradable. So the pros about pods, they do use less water probably than liquid detergent.
Mm-hmm.
However, I found they are marketed as biodegradable, but according to the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health, in 2018, this is a quote, due to its general increase in usage, PVA, polyvinyl alcohol polymer, was considered to be one of the most ubiquitous pollutants in wastewater.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, because everybody's using pods for their laundry, for their dishes, for their...
It's just convenient. It's easy dosing. Yeah,
and that's one of the funny things is like the Finnish detergent I use comes in pod form, and the New York Times says later, if you taste soap on your dishes, you're probably using too much detergent. And I'm like,
it's dosed. It's pre-dosed. Yeah. I'm going to cut it in half. Yeah.
Yeah. Just get blue everywhere.
Yeah. The little red power ball.
Right. Exactly. So that is kind of frustrating because I'm like, well, I guess I have to get a powder, and that's my plan.
Yeah.
But about these pods, about this film, this study said we don't understand its path and breakdown in water. And as much as 75% of it is untreated and enters waterways.
Ooh.
It can foam, which might inhibit oxygen transfer and harm aquatic life, which is great.
Yeah.
Not. And also because of its hydrophilicity, which we looked up last time, and I think it means water
loving, like how easily it dissolves in water or mixes with water, basically.
Yeah. So because of its hydrophilicity, it can absorb dangerous chemicals and contaminants like antibiotics and heavy metals at high concentrations. When eaten, these can make their way up the food chain.
So the little fishy you get, it gets eaten by a bigger fishy, and then it ends up on your dinner table, and your daughter's eating that on her dishes and in her fish.
Yes. Well, maybe not on the dishes. I guess antibiotics probably would be on the dishes. But,
oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
extra flavor.
Right. And then plasticoceans.org says that strict conditions must be met for it to fully biodegrade. So it's not naturally returning to the environment.
Just like those trash bags.
Yes. Just like the compostable trash bags.
Boo.
Yes. And notice it's called biodegradable. That's a green hooey term, right? Biodegradable.
Yeah,
it is.
Like compostable is something that has to be regulated, but biodegradable is not, because on a long enough timeline, everything returns to the earth.
Yes, glass, I think. No, maybe not glass. That's not a good example, but like rocks.
Right? Yeah, like if we get hit by a comet. My twin sister, who's a rocket scientist, says, again, if with enough time and pressure, anything can turn into dirt. So yes, exactly. Might be a million years, but it's enough time.
Right. So that definitely made me rethink using pods. I'm going to try to avoid them. I only use them in my dishwasher, but
yeah,
it was pretty.
I do now too. I've quit ever since we've.
Oh, nice.
I ran out of my last Tide Pod or whatever.
Oh, perfect.
I'm using our washing soda and Dr. Bronner's.
Very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome. So real quick, I'll get into the DIY options because I tried 2 of them. So Nancy, if you want Nancy Birtwhistle's recipe, you're going to have to get her book because I'm not going into it. It's quite complicated.
Good.
The problem...
we're also shilling her book for her. Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. Love you. Buy her book.
She actually has 3 now. I just ordered the other 2. They're all really good.
Ooh.
And so basically you have a powder detergent and a rinse aid. And the powder detergent has washing soda, baking soda, and green bleach. And then you have a separate jar where you mix vegetable glycerin, rubbing alcohol, vinegar, and lemon essential oil. And you add each of these to every load before every cycle. I found it a little bit of a pain in the ass, to be honest. It's just kind of a lot more complicated than a pod for sure.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is that all the ingredients are legit because none of those ingredients are, I mean, everything's harmful for the environment, but it's
on some level. Yeah.
Yeah. None of them are really bad. So you know what you're getting, you know what you're putting on your food, you're blah, blah, blah. But it's too complicated. And it, for me, left a film on my dishes. I don't know what it would do for you.
Okay.
Yeah. So then the spruce, I actually didn't try their exact recipe because we'll link it. So if you want the actual recipe, you can go to the website. But they use washing soda, borax, kosher salt, and then the food grade citric acid that I was talking about. Mm-hmm. I don't like borax because the environmental working group rates it a D. Yeah. So I was just like, I'm not going to use that. So I just like doubled the washing soda. That may have affected the efficacy, but I don't know. It's not really worth it because it's like if you're still using borax, then are you really saving?
Yeah. What are you cleaning? Maybe it's cheaper, but yeah.
Right. And it is a little bit. And that's actually my next. So I actually did a really in-depth cost analysis and I like really tried to do the math. And then I was like, F it. I don't care enough because there's so many ingredients and I'm just like, I can't. So many ingredients. And also have you noticed if you try to compare like ounces, you have to compare apples to oranges. It's like ounces to cups. You're like, how in the hell am I supposed to tell?
There's 8 ounces in a cup.
I Googled that. I was like, how many ounces? Anyway, so that was a whole thing. But
you know what would fix that?
What?
The metric system.
God, it's so true though.
That's why Nancy can do it. She's learned in the metric system over there in England.
Totally. And actually it's funny because on her recipe it is in the metric form and so I had to like
double translate. Yeah.
It was like 7.5 tablespoons. I was like, what am I doing? This is so stupid. Anyway, so it is cheaper to make your own and this is a very much an estimate, but I estimated you would save around $3.50 to make your own versus getting the finished quantum.
Oh, per box or whatever?
Per small package. So per like 24 load package.
Okay. I mean, that's
nothing to sneeze at, but
yeah,
so it's definitely cheaper than the commercial stuff, but it's also definitely cheaper than the green detergents.
Ooh.
Oh my God. For example, Aspen Clean, I do really love them. They work super well and all their products have been really good that I've used, but it's $18 for 28 pods.
What?
Mm-hmm. Which is $1.21 per ounce. Washing soda is 8 cents per ounce.
Wow.
And you pay for shipping unless you spend like $70.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So Dirty Labs is another brand. They have a bioenzyme dishwasher detergent powder that's $18, same price, but they do 48 loads. So it's like twice almost, which is better.
That is a little better, yeah.
Yeah, it has 2 enzymes. I actually bought this one, and so I can let you know how it goes because I just was like, I don't know what else to do. So there is a cheaper one by Thrive Market. I don't know if you've ever been marketed Thrive Market before.
I have. It's all over my Instagram.
Oh my God, people love it. I don't know if they actually love it or they're just sponsored, but hard to say. But they have one that's $6 for 75 loads. Oh. So that's actually a really good price. It might even be cheaper than Finish, to be honest. So it's a great price. And pretty good ratings, but mixed results. And so I'm positive that it wouldn't. I just feel it.
You like just know it. You're like, I've been through this war.
Yes.
You've seen the outcome.
And the funny thing is I looked up like which one that's decent for the environment will work for hard water. And Bob Vila recommended this one called Grab Green. And it's $19.50 for 80 loads. So it's also a pretty decent price. Rated an A from the Environmental Working Group. I was actually going to order this from Amazon, but Amazon reminded me that I already did. And I was like,
oh gosh, we've come full circle.
And I remembered that I had it for a while and it didn't work at all for me. No. And I think I gave it away. So,
okay.
Yeah. So we're really hoping Dirty Labs has some better stuff for me, but for sure. I'm just going to keep experimenting and cross my fingers.
That's frustrating.
It is. I was like, that's why this episode was so hard. I was like, dang it, I really wanted to solve these problems, but I will. I feel confident. It's just, I'm very impatient. So, as promised, let's get into what you can do today without buying a damn thing. Do you want to know?
Yes.
You might already do it. You might already do it, but stop pre-rinsing your dishes.
Dun, dun, dun. I fight my roommate on it.
Oh, I love it.
Get that out of the sink. Scrape it in the trash and put it right in there.
I love it. So this, I'm just going to say, this was the most frustrating part because everybody online was like, don't pre-rinse your dishes. There's this whole like hashtag skip the rinse campaign. And I was so on board. And then I did it with the DIY stuff and it didn't work for shit.
No.
Yes. I still had peanut butter smeared on my spoon. I still had my casserole dish was not even remotely, it still basically had like chicken skin on it. I was like, I didn't even start with chicken skin. I don't understand
where did this come from? Somebody's putting chicken skin into my, okay, I'm going to give you my gross, disgusting secret. Are you ready?
What? I
don't pre-rinse, but I let the dog lick the dish.
Oh, that's not gross.
Well, my mom goes, how do you know it's going to kill the spit in the... And I'm like, Mom, if the dishwasher can't wash dog spit off of the dish, then we're all doomed. Like, why are you washing them anyway? But
yes, true.
If it's okay for my dog to eat it, I let him lick the dish. So.
No, I don't think that's... Maybe people listening will think that's weird.
I think we're just lost 30% of our listeners. They're going to be like, these people are disgusting.
No, I let my dog do that sometimes.
Yeah, it's a treat for him, you know.
Yeah.
Except he's gotten so used to it, now he expects it. But
now
he sits there and he's like, it's time. I'm like, no, this has garlic in it. He's like, I don't care.
I love it though. Yeah, my dog has gotten fat because we fed her too much, so we've had to cut back. But
oops.
Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. So do you ever, because they do say scrape the food off into the trash or your compost bin if you're very fancy, and then just put it in the dishwasher. And so the interesting thing is when I did it with Finish, it worked. Like, I had tomato soup does not come off. No. It hardens into this like...
It is permanent. It is a glue, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I use it.
I think in most cultures, they glue houses together with it. Or wounds, just apply tomato soup and let dry. Don't take that home. Nobody do that, please. Oh my gosh.
Like a form of skin glue, totally. So, it was so hard for me to do. Like, you have no idea how many times I had to stop myself from turning on the water. But I just threw the pot in. I didn't rinse it at all. I threw a couple plates in, didn't rinse them at all. And they were really clean. Like, totally, totally clean. I took some pictures just because I wanted to prove to people.
Yeah. You're like, look, it happened.
Yeah, and so I'll put that on Instagram. But
I've heard it's because the surfactants need a surface to react to. They need something to glom onto in order to clean better.
Yes. So I learned this too. And I think it might even also be the enzymes. Modern enzymatic detergents work better when they can cling to food.
There you go.
That is according to the New York Times.
Feed your enzymes.
Feed your enzymes. So yeah, I was amazed. And the other amazing thing is how much water you'll save if you don't pre-rinse.
Yep.
So first off, because a lot of people think like, oh, I know a dishwasher does actually use half the energy, 1/6 of the water, and less soap than hand washing. Which, this is according to a study from the University of Bonn. I learned it from treehugger.com. But this is only true if you run the dishwasher only when it's full and you don't pre-rinse your dishes. And they also recommend don't turn on the drying cycle. Just let them air dry, because why the hell not?
I know. What is that? Yeah.
I don't get there hot.
It's also, you're heating your house too.
Yeah. And use the normal setting, the normal wash setting rather than the heavy setting. And I did that with my pot and it was fine. So the funny thing is like this, I think it was this guy, John Morrill of the American Council for Energy Efficient Economy. I like it. He was like, people are so reluctant to just try, or maybe it was in New York Times. I don't remember where I read this, but somebody was quoted saying, people are so reluctant to experiment and to try. And I get it. 'Cause me too. Like I said, I had to
Right, because then you have a load of dirty dishes.
Yes. But the funny
you have
thing
to
is,
run again.
Exactly. Yeah. But it's also like, that's the worst case scenario.
Right. Yeah. The world didn't come tumbling down because your one dishwasher detergent didn't work.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Clean didn't come arrest you. So
and the Maytag man together. Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah. So I found that really interesting because I definitely fell in that category where I was like, no way will that work because we're just so ingrained. Yeah. And it's New York Times says 65 to 80% of people do pre-rinse.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So greencitizen.com says you might use 2 to 6 gallons of water per minute to rinse your dishes. Ooh. And then, so that's like up to 15 gallons per load. I feel like more than that maybe, but Energy Star estimates that you can waste up to 3,225 gallons per year of water. Wow. Over 3,000 gallons of water per year just because you're pre-rinsing your dishes. Isn't that insane?
That's nuts.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, okay, thank God I have something to give to people because Jesus Christ, it's not going to be DIY dishwasher detergent. Especially because the pre-rinsing only really works if your detergent is decent. So, like I said, didn't work with my DIY stuff. So there's probably a DIY option out there that will work for you. Nancy says hers works great for her. It's just not. It didn't work for me, and that's so sad. The New York Times also said something funny. If your dishwasher still sucks, try a better detergent.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks. Thanks, Doc.
So to wrap up real quick, if you don't have a dishwasher, I had a request from my cousin. She wanted to know how to decrease her impact when dishwashing by hand because she either doesn't have a dishwasher or she doesn't use it. So there's one method that might even beat out the dishwasher when used effectively or correctly in terms of greenhouse gas emissions. And this is the 2-basin method.
Okay. Yep.
It can, all this. I didn't know this. So it can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 2/3 according to the University of Michigan.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah, 2/3. And I think that must just be from heating the water. It's got to be. But basically, you fill one basin. If you have a double basin sink, that helps. Or I think you could just get 2 tubs. Mm-hmm. Fill one of them with soap slightly, not too soapy, but slightly soapy water, and one with cool water to rinse. And then use that to wash your dishes. And you don't run the water. You not even really have to use hot water. They also say, don't run the tap, and it's better to air dry than use a towel.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think there's something about air drying kills bacteria.
Okay, I could see how a towel would just be like sopping and
you're just kind of moving it around and moving things from one thing to another maybe.
Okay, I could see that.
Yeah.
All right, so for my cousin, that's how you can try. You can try that if you don't already do it. If you already do it, you're doing great. So,
that's how they watched it. If you ever watch at a bar, you watch sometime.
Yes.
They dunk it in this, they dunk it in that, and then they have the third step they have is a sanitizer.
Yes.
But it's the tub method. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say I worked in several places, like an ice cream shop. We did that exact thing. So.
Yep.
And it was always cold water too. I don't remember it being.
They're like, don't use the hot tap.
Yeah, exactly. It's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So, too long, didn't read. Unless you love experimenting a lot, don't bother trying to make your own dishwasher detergent. It's so finicky, and the chances of finding the exact recipe that work for you, it seems slim to me. Instead, stop pre-rinsing your dishes.
All right.
So I got to quickly granola rating it.
Yes, let's do it.
1 to 5 granolas. I struggled with this a little bit, but I'm going to give it my first soggy.
I wish we had a noise that went wah, 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 wah. Wow, we've never had a soggy.
I know. I think you just made the noise for us. We don't even need.
Let's just record that for every episode and just
Perfect.
Reuse it.
Yeah, I know. It felt like a big deal.
And it's one of those things we're trying to be really nice. Again, sorry, Nancy, but this one didn't work for us.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's got to work and it has to make sense. Like I said, the spruce, their recipe still had borax. So it's like that doesn't actually make it any better. So you're doing all of this work and you still are using borax. So
yeah,
it just wasn't clear to me why one would bother.
Well, bummer.
Yeah, but now nobody else has to waste their time.
Yeah, you did it. Thank you.
I did it. Yay, I'm so glad it's over. It's not over for me. I still have to experiment, but I'll let you guys know how the Dirty Labs one goes.
Yeah, I want a full review. And, well, maybe you just an extra granola rating on that one.
Yeah, there you go. That sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, so next week is you.
Yes.
Your turn.
It's something we've been waiting for. Are we going to eat our words on essential oils?
Mm-hmm. We've been dreaming of it. We've been
it took me
nervous.
like 4 weeks to research this. So
I was going to say,
I finally have a thesis I think I can handle.
Okay, so. I was going to say it's a pretty big one. So I kind of felt bad giving it to you. Again, I did want to jump out the window doing DIY dishwasher detergent.
Yeah, that's fair.
I shouldn't feel too bad, but
no, we appreciate your sacrifice.
Thank you.
I was going to say maybe we should have a new rating of how much therapy did Tiffany have to go for this one? Because we know avocado stains are top of your list for therapy, but what about dishwasher? Because this has been a problem for a long time for you, is this film.
Yes, that and the soap taste. It's just, it's not working for me. So, especially because I'm not used to a dishwasher. I hand wash my stuff for years because my apartments in DC never had a dishwasher.
Yep. On the East Coast, it was you hand wash everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it was such a shocker to the system. I was like, what is happening? I don't like it.
No, thank you. Yeah, I still have to teach so many New Yorkers and Philly people, don't rinse it.
I'm going to have to really, really hit home the not pre-rinsing thing with Joe. I think it's going to take, because I have called him a water waster before.
Ooh,
I love him.
But the worst insult you could throw at someone in this household.
Yes, he's gotten way better, but it's going to be, I think I'm going to have to present hard evidence to him to get him on board.
Send him to the articles you've read.
Right.
Oh, I do have a story.
Yeah.
About here's what not to try. And I know this from somebody else's experience. I had a roommate in college, but she just put regular dishwashing soap, Dawn, into the
I think you told me about this.
We had a foam party in the kitchen.
Yes, you mentioned that at one point. I think even on the podcast. I don't remember what the hell we were talking about, but
don't do it.
That is so funny because that's I did not think that was real. Yeah. I didn't think that would actually happen. I almost want to try it, but I'm not going to.
She probably, if she just used a little bit, it would have been different, but it was she filled the whole thing up and we were all what were you thinking? She wasn't thinking. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, Lord. Well, hey, I have my own. I once left the gas on. Did I mention this on the podcast? When I lived in Italy, I was 20. I was there studying abroad, and I lived with an Italian roommate, and he was a little bit older, so his brain was developed, and mine wasn't yet.
Tricky older people.
He was past the 25 age mark. And so I left the gas stove on slightly. Doesn't really matter how much it is, but the knob was turned. He came home. I fell asleep because I was a grandma. They all called me Nona because I went to sleep at 11 and they were out until 3. He came home at 3 a.m. The whole entire apartment was full of gas.
Oh, that's terrifying.
Yes. And he smoked. So I was
oh gosh.
Thank God you did.
Just lit up and you're all, but you could have died from CO2 or carbon monoxide.
I think luckily we just we had our windows open because we just did, but he went through and was oh my God, we're gonna die. He was freaking out. I felt so bad and so stupid.
You never did it again.
Oh God, no. I don't have gas anymore, but I would check religiously.
Yeah.
But I am a little bit dumb in that way.
Not you're saying, your prefrontal cortex wasn't even fully formed.
Yeah, there you go. I wasn't developed. We'll say that, even though, I have more recent examples, but we won't get into those.
Well, tonight you're a chemist, so thank you very much.
Exactly. So, so next week's episode is going to be the last one of the season. And we've been talking a little bit sporadically about seasons, but all that means is that we're going to take a 1-month break to give ourselves time to make the podcast even better. And then we'll be back to chat about waste. That's going to be our next season, but we'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of next episode.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or comments, please email us at greeningupmyact@gmail.com. It's been a very quiet inbox this week, so we would love to hear your thoughts and suggestions and
like what you want to know about. So, and Instagram works too. We check that also religiously.
Pretty religiously, yeah.
All right, well, thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Okay.
See you in a bit.
Bye.
Bye.